Good morning, Excel Geo. Today we're going to start talking about the law of cosines and when we utilize it. So if you take a look at this packet that you had from yesterday, you have the law of cosines. Now, the law of cosines is slightly different. We have three equations, and the equation that we use is going to be based on either the angle that we're given or the angle we want to find. So you have, in this case, we have three equations. We have where we have a squared and a cosine of a. We have where we have cosine of b in it, and we have where we have cosine of c in it. And really, what your angle you want to find or side you want to find will determine which equation that we're going to use. Now, when do we use law of cosines? We use law of cosines in these two cases, SSS or SAS. Now, cross out this non-ambiguous. We're not working with that, okay? So now let's take a look at this example here. In the example that you're given, it says two sides and an included angle. Solve triangle ABC with A being 11, C being 14, and B being 34. I'm just going to make that a big B. Now draw a picture. So we already have the picture drawn to the side here. So use the law of cosines to find the missing side. So they're asking us to first use our law of cosines to find our missing side. Our missing side is B. Now, I'm going to determine which equation based on the angle in which I'm given, and I'm given angle B. So that means I'm going to use the second equation for law of cosines because I can use angle B in that equation. So when I go to solve this, if you look at that equation, it's b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of b. So I'm writing down, if I look at this, I'm going to write down, it's going to be b squared is equivalent to a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of b. And I'm going to input that entire thing into my calculator so I can find b squared. And I'm going to put it in exactly as I see it. 11 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 11 times 14 cosine of 34. And I'm going to get b squared to be approximately 61.656. So then I'm just going to take the square root of that to find my value of b. And my answer should be approximately 7.852. So that would be my unknown side, B. I don't know why it's not letting me. There we go, B. Okay. Now that we found the unknown side, we can actually now utilize law of sines to find the missing angles. All right. And sometimes that's easier to use than law of cosines. Meaning, if I'm using law of sines, I ask myself, what side and angle do I have that's opposite it? And I have B now that I solved for it. So what we would do is we would set up that proportion like we did yesterday. We do 7.852 over sine of 34 would be equivalent to, say, A, 11 over sine of A, if I want to find angle A first. Now here, we're going to cross multiply just like we did yesterday. So if I cross multiply this, I'm going to get 7.852 times the sine of A equals 11 times the sine of 34. So really, we're solving first for sine of A. Put that in your calculator, sine of A. You're doing 11 sine of 34, close those parentheses, divided by 7.852. And you should get 0.783. All right, now we have to find that angle. Now, when we find angles, guys, we do inverse functions. So inverse sine would give me my angle here. So, if you were having cosine, you do inverse cosine, but we have sine here, so we're doing inverse sine. So you're doing second sine, and then put in that answer, and you should get angle A to be approximately 51.571 degrees. So now if I look at that, I have my angle A. So here is what we said, 50. I'm going to make it a little darker so we can see it. 51.571 degrees. Now looking at that, guys, how can we easily find that last angle measurement? we can just say, wait a minute, I can just subtract, if I'm finding my last angle measurement, I can subtract both my known angles now from 180. So just do 180 minus that 34 minus that 51.571, and you should get the measure C to be equivalent to 94.429 degrees. So now we have our three unknowns that we had to solve for using our law of cosines. And then law of sines too, but using law of cosines to start with at least. All right, guys, now we're going to look at our next one. Our next one, we're given the example of SSS. Okay, and when we use SSS, we're going to also have to start with law of cosines. So we need to solve this triangle with A being 12, B being 27, and C being 20. One of the most important things that you want to do is when you use law of cosines to find a missing angle, you want to go opposite the longest side first. So see how my longest side is B? That means we're going to find angle B first. And if I'm finding angle B, I go up here and I say, what equation do I have to use? I have to use that second equation because that has the one that has the angle B in it. So guys, I'm going to go down here and I'm actually going to make my life a little easier, give myself a little more space. And I'm going to just redraw this triangle. So I have this triangle and we had what B, B, A, C, and we said that we had 27, 20, and 12. So we had 27, 20, and 12, and we knew this was B, A, and C. So again, we're going to find the angle opposite the longest side. So we're finding angle B. So I'm giving myself a little room, okay? So now if we take a look at that, okay, what we're going to do now is let's plug it in to find B. So it's going to be B squared, which is 27 squared, is equivalent to A squared plus C squared minus 2 times A times C. Let me move this a little. Cosine of B, which is, we don't know. So the way we solve this matters, okay? We have to remember that this is all one term, okay? So we cannot combine that 2, 20, and 12 with that 20 squared plus 12 squared. So what you're going to do first is we're going to start simplifying. 27 squared is going to be 729. And then I'm going to actually combine this in one step. 20 squared plus 12 squared. And we should get 544. Now you can multiply the 2, the 20, and the 12. And when you do that, that 480 is kind of attached to cosine by multiplication. So we have to remember our order of operations here, guys. So we can't just combine that 544 and that 480 because 480 is brought together with cosine B by multiplication. So therefore, that operation would have to go first. But we can solve for cosine B now. So I can subtract that 544 from both sides. So do 729 minus 544, and you're going to get 185 equals negative 480 cosine of B. And then divide by negative 480, and you're getting cosine of B to be equivalent to negative 0.385. So now how do we find B, guys? We do second cosine, second answer. Inverse cosine. So it's second cosine, second answer. When we do inverse cosine, we find the measures of our angles. So if I do that, I'm going to get the measure of angle B to be 112.66, well, it's 669, but so it should be 670 degrees. So now I found one of my unknown angles. Okay, so let's find another. Well, let's think about that. We can either use law of cosines, or now we can go and, again, you can use law of cosines once and then go back to law of sines. If I go back to law of sines, it doesn't matter whether I find A or C. I'm going to just pick one and find it. But now that I know B, I can go back to law of sines. So let's find, in this case, let's go to A. So if I set this up, I'm going to say what was A? A was, we know our A value is 20. So 20 over our unknown angle, the sine of our unknown angle. So sine of 20 over sine of A would equal 27, which is my B value, over sine of 112.670 degrees. All right, so if we take a look, and now we're going to cross multiply. So you're going to get 20 times that sine of 112.670 degrees equals 27 times sine of A. So how do we find sine of A, guys? We're going to take 20, and we're going to do sine of 112.67, and then divide it by 27, and we are going to get sine of A to be 0.684. Now what do we do, guys? To find an angle measurement, you do inverse sine. I do inverse sine. I do second sine, second answer to make my life easier, and I get A to be 43.119 degrees. So now we've found B, we found A, we have one more angle to find, and that is C. Well, how would we find C, guys? Well, we have a triangle. It would be just 180 minus A and B. So I'm going to subtract both values from 180 because we have a triangle. And C would then be, if I did 180 minus 112.670 minus 43.119, you're going to get this to be, C to be 24.211 degrees. And we have solved our triangle. Excellent. All right, guys. So what you have to do is you have the homework on law of cosines attached to this today. If you have any questions, please come to office hours. If you are unable to complete anything because of power outage or you talk to someone that had power outage, I will be accepting all homework next week and give everyone a little break if they need it. All right, guys. I will talk to you soon, and I hope everyone has a great day.